Welcome to session 2, guys. So now that your data is finally imported, now it's time to really get into the nuts and bolts of the whole analytics part of Insightt. And I really want to take the time to go ahead and make this session all about understanding your numbers and how it all relates to your business. So first things first, I'm just going to go ahead and start sharing my screen. This is obviously my account, but your data is now imported and it should start looking very similar to what you see here on my screen. Now, just to kind of recap of everything that we went through in the last session, I just want to go ahead and reiterate some of the same things. So Insightt is constantly comparing your data to the same time period as last year. So every single time that you see one of these cards, again, look for the same common theme. It's going to go ahead and it's going to give you the data that you had for the same time period the year before. So we're always comparing and we're showing you what percentage either up or down that you are in relevant to the same time period of last year. So just go ahead and keep that in the back of your head. That's going to follow the same theme all through along this next session. So first thing first is we're going to go ahead and we're going to step away from the overview page and we're going to start working our way into the reports section. So in reports, this is an opportunity for you to really understand how well your company is doing or how not so well your company is doing. So what we're doing is we're showing you easily by all of a click of a button. If you have numerous locations, this is where it really comes to life. Because now for the first time, you're able to go ahead and with the click of a button, you're able to go ahead and see exactly where you're problematic, all just by filtering your branches. So one thing that I've learned from being in this industry is that all your assignments, all your work is basically dictated on how well you perform with what you have currently. So every client that you have, the number one thing that they always look at is that recovery rate. That recovery rate is by far the most important number that you can have when it comes to how you're graded by the companies that are giving you assignments, giving you work. So within that recovery rate, what's always been good for me to understand is, especially since I have multiple locations, is where am I problematic? How do I get my overall recovery rate the highest number possible so I could go ahead and have that conversation with the client? Hey, we're really outperforming our competition. Is there an opportunity to receive more of that work? And the more that you're able to perform, the more that you're able to increase those recovery rates and outperform your competition, the more work that they're going to give you. It's in their best interest and that's what they want to do. So being able to understand where you need to work and fine tune and be able to increase those recovery rates to the highest number possible. This is all built in. So that was kept in mind during the course of building Insightt out. And that was really important to me because, you know, just going back in time, right? Being able to, having to run numbers for every single location that you have was very, very time consuming. It took a lot of time to do that. And, you know, all that is now eliminated. So the first thing that you see in this report section is a bar graph. And what that bar graph represents is basically whatever you have toggled. So as you can see to the right, we have the repossessions year to date. And so as you can see within a bar graph, you have the full course of a duration of 12 months, right? The whole entire year. And as the year progresses, these bar graphs will start to populate. So as you can see right now, it's currently March 21st, 2023. And as you can see, this is where I am currently for the month of March in terms of my repossessions. And I'm very close to, I still have a solid week and a half of days, and I'm almost already hitting that number from where I was for the same time period or over March of 2022. So I'm getting relatively close. All the numbers that you see that are already populated in green is the previous year. If you hover over them, we'll give you that exact number of what they were, but you'll start seeing as the months progress, these blue bars starting to populate again as the time goes on. And so you can constantly see where you are in relation to the previous time from the year before. You also have the option of toggling between a bar graph and a line graph. Whatever tickles your fancy, it's up to you. And the next thing that I want to go ahead and demonstrate to you, especially if you have multiple locations, is that this data is all toggleable by every single one of your locations. So keep that in the back of your head, because this is huge if you have multiple locations. This branch toggle is going to follow you in every part of Insightt. And the reason why we want to do that is because we want to be able to demonstrate and allow for you to easily see and assess which each location is producing for every single one of your locations. So since we have repossessions on right now toggled, right now it's on company-wide. If I want to say, okay, how are my repossessions doing for a very specific branch? As you can see with the click of a button, it all toggles, right? And so now I'm able to see for that very specific branch, our main location of where we are in relation to the same time period last year. And you can go ahead and do this for every single one of your locations. And again, that data will start dancing, all with the click of a button. Now, right now, we currently have repossessions checked off. All this is also toggled by whatever you want to toggle it with. So we have repossessions, we have assignments, we have missed repossessions, and your recovery rate. All with the click of a button, you could see exactly where you are for every single one of your locations by whatever it is that you toggle by. Say bye to multi-search. This all does it for you. And you can do this by your repossessions, your assignments, your missed repossessions, and again, your recovery rate. Okay. The next thing I want to go and point to your attention is the daily report. So I'm sure everyone's familiar with ClearPlan's daily report. It's an awesome tool. It really gives you insight, no pun intended. It really gives you insight into how your driver is performing every single night. Well, instead of just seeing your check-ins, your discounts, and your recoveries, I thought we would take it one step further and basically give you all the information all the other information that's relevant to your business on a daily basis. So we went ahead and we did exactly that. So Insightt has a daily report, and within this daily report, we go ahead and send you all the relevant data that goes on for your entire operation and not just for your driver's check-ins, discounts, and recoveries. So we wanted to fill the gap with other things. And so the first thing first is I just want to go ahead and show you is that this will also get emailed to you every single day. 9 o'clock local to whatever time zone that you're in, you'll receive this daily report. And within it, we're going to give you your assignment count, the accounts that weren't checked, your total repossessions, all the cases that you currently have pending repossession that have been spotted or confirmed, all your spotted cars that you did for that day, all the cars that were spotted but not secured, your live hits, your scans, live hits not secured, and your check-ins. And then we also have a recovery rate by branch. So we also want to show you how your branch is performing on a daily basis based on the new accounts that came in for that day. Remember, every single card that you see within Insightt is clickable. So if you ever want to go ahead and say, okay, well, I have 164 assignments, you click on it and it will break it down by client. And then depending on how deep you want to get into it, you can click on that and then it will break it down by every single one of those assignments. And if you want to see the case in RDN, you just click on the VIN, it'll take you to the case in RDN. And again, that branch toggle will go ahead and display that for every single one of your locations. So that's what we send you every single day. And then within that email for this daily report, there's another thing that we also send to you, and that's the daily map. And all that map is, it's basically going to highlight 3 things: your repossessions, your spotted vehicles for the day, and all the spotted vehicles that weren't secured that day. Now you're going to get a snapshot view of what that looks like in that email, but you're also going to be able to see this online in the web. And so this is the web version of that. And as you can see, we had a pretty good day yesterday in terms of our repossessions. And this is basically what it looks like all on a map. Now, if I want to go ahead and break this down by each location, you just simply click on the location that you want to see the data. Okay. And then we also filter it by invols and voluntary. So you're able to see exactly which type of case it was that was repossessed. Go back to company-wide, you can see all the activity. And then you can also toggle this. We send you 3 maps. We send you a screenshot of basically your total repossessions, just as it is appeared here. So just figure that this is to be cut out and a screenshot is taken. Also of your spotted. And then lastly, but not least, your spotted not secured. Now the spotted not secured is very important, at least for me, just because these are all the cases that we lost opportunities on. And so the reason why I wanted to see in a map each day is because I want to know what happened, and I want to see how close it was relevant to wherever my location is, my office location. As I'm sure you guys all share some similar stories in cases yourselves. We have drivers sometimes, when it gets really busy. Right now it's really busy times. So we're very grateful for having a lot of work, but at the same time, performance can actually decrease sometimes because there's so much work going on, and then your drivers get too comfortable and they're only like okay with making X amount of money when there's still a lot more money to be left on the table and to be gotten. So it's good for me to know and understand where those opportunities lie in relation to how close they are to my shop, because I don't want to lose out on any opportunities whatsoever. And sometimes if it's in a rural area and it just doesn't make sense, then yeah, it gets pardoned. But for the ones that are close by us and the ones that don't have an attempt on it, those are the conversations that you want to start having with your drivers. Hey, why wasn't this picked up? It was only 20 minutes from the shop, 10 minutes from the shop. This could have been picked up, so forth and so on. So just gives you an ability to be able to see exactly where those opportunities are. And you could do whatever it is that you need to do on your end to have those conversations with your drivers. But anyway, those are the three things that we look at every single day. And you have, again, your total repossessions, you have your spotted, go back to company-wide, and your spotted not secured. As we look into these as well, if you ever wanted to hover over the map and get the data for it, you can simply click on the icon, and then it's going to go ahead and display that for you. You have your client, who was repossessed by, the date and time it was repossessed, if it was an involuntary, if it was, a vol, the address it was repossessed at, the year, make, model, and then the VIN. If you ever need to go into that case in RDN, every time you click on the VIN, it'll take you right to the case in RDN. The next thing I want to go and point out is the task system. So we also have a task system that's going to be introduced to you. I think in session 3, we'll get into the tasks, but what we wanted to build out with these tasks is that every time that you have one of these spotted not secured, these are all opportunities. So if you have cars that were spotted and they just didn't have enough time throughout the night to go ahead and secure that vehicle, what you could do is when you come into this map, you can say, okay, well, this was spotted by Sonia. It still hasn't been picked up yet. So let me create a task for a day shift agent, or maybe for the next night shift agent, or the route man, whoever you want to. You could basically create a task, and it's going to pre-populate the data that we have here. And then you could just easily assign a task to that person, that manager, that driver, whoever it may be, to go ahead and get that car picked up. So now there's a record of that process. And then going back into the daily, that's what we show you. And again, this gets emailed to you automatically every single day. It's going to get emailed to 2 different types of users. You have any branch manager that you have on the system will get this email to them. And branch managers only get what's relevant to their branch. So let's say, for instance, I'm a branch manager for Tampa. This is what they would see. They would only see the data that's relevant to their location. They're not going to see a daily report for the entire company, only what's relevant to their location. Administrators, however, will see company-wide information. And so administrators would see something like this. A very specific branch manager is only going to see data that's relevant to their very specific branch. And that, again, gets emailed every single day. Okay. Next thing that we're going to go ahead and do is we're going to scroll down, and we're going to get into the client assignments. So basically what you're seeing here is a big pie chart that represents every single one of your clients going from greatest to least. And it's all filtered by the amount of assignments that you get. So your greatest obviously will be the biggest piece of the pie, to whereas the smallest will represent obviously your smaller clients. And that will just visually give you an idea of what each client represents to your operation. If you want to go ahead and hover over it, we'll go ahead and give you the assignments, your recovery rate, your up down percentage, and so forth. And again, all this data you could toggle with a click of a button for every single one of your locations. Okay, all with a click of a button. Now, the very cool thing about this too is that you're able to toggle this between month to date, year to date, or a custom month. So anytime you see monthly here, you click on that and you can go ahead or default to the previous month, which was February. But then you can go ahead and start looking in previous months before that if you want data for that time period. And again, month to date, year to date, all with the click of a button, and you can break that down by every single one of your locations. Okay. Next thing that we're going to go ahead and focus our attention on is the client list. And this is by far my favorite part of all of Insightt. This breaks down everything that's relevant to me to be able to grow and run my business, because this is a client scorecard. This tells me exactly where I stand in real time for every single one of my clients, for every single one of my locations. Now, when I need to go ahead and figure out, okay, wherever my competition is for that month period, I get a scorecard, or at least the majority of lenders give you scorecards. And if they don't, ask them for one. They all have them. It's just a matter of whether or not they're actually sending them to you. So reach out to your client, ask them where you stand in relation to your competition. Sometimes they'll tell you who that competition is. Most of the time, it's going to be like competitor A, B, and C. Who it is not important. Now, what that number is and what that number represents for your competitor, that's what's important. So if you go ahead and you say, hey, I have, let's say my recovery rate's 25%. And so what is important is that whatever that number might be for your competitor, that's where you have to be in order to get that volume, in order to get his share of the volume, in order for you to increase. So knowing what that number is, you're one step further in achieving that. At least now you have the data. Next part is for you to implement and actually be able to do that. But this is a great tool to help you understand where you are, or where you need to be at in order to achieve that goal. So as you can see right now, we have recovery rate goals, we have recovery rates. This tells me if I'm up or if I'm down over the same time period of last year. We look at 4 different things, and this is going to be the very theme of Insightt. We're going to look at your assignments, we're going to look at your repossessions, we're going to look at your missed repossessions, and your recovery rate. Again, everyone knows that your recovery rate is by far the most important number. So really pay attention to that recovery rate all throughout Insightt. And this will at least allow you to see where you are in real time without you having to do anything. So every time that you come to this, you'll be able to see, again, what your recovery rate is in relation to last year, and everything in every single one of those categories. So again, we have assignment count this year, last year, whether or not you're up or if you're down. As you can see, we're down 41% in Capital One over the same time period of last year. Our repossessions are down 55%. Our missed repossessions are through the roof for that number. That's a whole different topic. Pay no attention to that. As you can see, everything else is pretty much steady on the up and up. Our assignments are up for Westlake and Ally. Our repossessions are way up. Our recovery rate, tends to flip-flop a little bit. Right now, we're 19% increased over the same time period of last year for March for Westlake. And this basically allows me to see exactly where I'm problematic. And what the benefit is to this really is that if I'm okay, let's use this for an example. Okay, I'm down 25% right now for Capital One. I personally know exactly what's going on, not to kill the illustration, but if I wanted to see exactly where I am problematic for that, all I have to do is start toggling for every single one of my locations. Say, okay, well, Fort Pierce, I don't want to get any Capital One in Fort Pierce, but let's say Orlando. I'm up 16%, so I know Orlando's not the problem. If I go to Tampa and I say, okay, Capital One, I'm up 10% over the same time period in Tampa, so I know Tampa's not the problem. Jacksonville, I'm down 20%, right? So last year I was at 27. This year I'm at 22. That's an overall percentage of being down 10%. But if I go to my main, right, I can see I'm down 81% over the same time period of last year. The point that I'm trying to illustrate here is that you're able to easily identify where you're problematic. So if I say, okay, well, I know the big problems that I have with Capital One is that I need to get my assignments or my recovery rate higher in my main branch as well as Jacksonville. Now I can dedicate resources, or I can now talking to my agents in those 2 locations, and I can come up and formulate a game plan in order to get those numbers up. And that's all you need to do is knowing where you're problematic is, half the battle. Executing is a whole other battle, but at least now you know easily within seconds where you're problematic and what you need to do in order to get those numbers up. And that's the point of all this. So one other thing that I just want to go and point out is that you're able to set a recovery rate goal for every single one of your locations. So if I say, hey, for my main branch, if my goal is, let's say, 40% or 45%, whatever the case may be, all I have to do is set that recovery rate goal for every single one of my locations, for every single one of my clients. And then this bar graph right here will tell me where I stand in relation to hitting that goal. So if my goal was, let's say 45%, this will say that hey, I'm 77% of the way there. For this one, if my goal was 30%, right, it would tell me, hey, that I'm 108% there. I've hit that goal, I've attained it. Capital One, whatever that goal may be, I'm way down, right? I have a long way to go. The point is that you are able to customize whatever that number might be for every single one of your clients, for every single one of your locations, and that's huge. So you could easily be able to go through this and look through your numbers within seconds. Really, it's all it takes is seconds a day for you to go through, examine, and then execute or formulate a game plan for you to execute in order to get these numbers up. And again, you could toggle all this data, right, by a click of a button. And that is huge. Okay, and the next part that we're going to go ahead and focus our attention on is we're going to go ahead, and again, this goes ahead and shows you every single client that you have. And then we get into the leaderboard for year to date. So our year to date top drivers, same thing as overview, but instead of for the month, we're now showing you this information as it relates to the entire year. And this will obviously be ongoing and it happens in real time. All this is real-time data. So you're able to toggle between your repossessions, your involuntary, your voluntary, your total spotted, your spotted secured, closed, your total scans, your live hits, and your live hits that weren't secured. Again, if you want to go ahead and break this down, you can go ahead and click on any one of your drivers. We'll break it down by client. You could toggle the data between involuntary and voluntary. You can always hit the view all button and see your year-to-date top recovery agents for the time periods that it is. If you want to see year before. Now, employee stats is still being fine-tuned right now. But what we want to be able to showcase and what the heart for this section is that we want to go ahead and display your stats for every single one of your drivers. We want to do that by your month to date and year to date. So the three things that we're going to be looking at is we're going to look at the total average hours, the average idle hours, and then the average drive time hours. So essentially what the average drive time hours and the idle hours represent is that, remember, all of your driver user types, whether that be a spotter, a camera car driver, or a recovery agent, all three of them are required to log into our mobile app. And when they log into our mobile app, we're tracking their location every single time. So if they're clocking time, they're tracking time, we're tracking their location. And so what we want to do with that is we want to be able to demonstrate to you statistics based on time spent in motion and time that's idle. And we want to create leaderboards for it. So this is a very basic version of that leaderboard, but sometime in the future, what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and break all those statistics down by user type. That way you're able to go ahead and see for your recovery agents, you can see exactly what each recovery agent represents in terms of drive time hours, or what each recovery agent represents in terms of idleness and so forth. And we're going to create statistics and leaderboards based on driver performance, all from time spent in motion and time that's idle, as well as some other statistics. So this is what that's going to represent, and you'll be able to toggle that by every single one of your locations, right? And then you're able to toggle between month to date and year to date. And that is basically the conclusion of the reports section. If you have any other questions regarding this, remember, every single time that you're in Insightt, there's a help button right here. All you have to do is click it. It's going to give you a tutorial, a quick little video, and then a step-by-step tutorial of what each section means and what it represents. If you have any other questions, always feel free to go ahead and reach out to us via the intercom button or by emailing us at support@insightt.io. Thank you so much for your time on this very specific section. Can't wait to see you in the next one.